As the end of the final year of high school approached, the increasing pressure led students to seek ever more extreme ways to relieve stress. Playing the spirit summoning game in the biology lab during evening self-study is one of the school's horror legends. It is said that some senior girls who played this game suddenly became possessed, some mysteriously disappeared, and others had mental issues, with one currently residing in a mental hospital. One evening during self-study, Zhengkai, Yizhen, Hewan, Zihao, and Mei Yan decided to play a forbidden game, Ouija board. They secretly entered the biology lab, a mix of excitement and fear in the air. Zhengkai took a piece of white paper filled with words and a saucer from his pocket, the saucer having a red arrow on it. He spread the paper flat on the table, then placed the saucer in the center of the paper. Zhengkai broke the silence first.
Let's start. We shouldn't take too long.
All right, but remember the rules. Don't interrupt easily, and don't move recklessly.
Iwan reminded.
Is this really okay?
Mei-Yan hesitated.
It's fine. It's just a game. Don't worry too much.
Zihao patted her on the shoulder. The five of them sat around the table, fingers gently resting on the saucer. The initial atmosphere was tense, with everyone looking bewildered. The cold air from outside seeped in, silently spreading throughout the room. Accompanied by the unsteady sound of their breathing, the temperature seemed to drop to freezing.
Dish spirit, are you here?
Mei-Yan asked softly. The plate remained motionless, and the silent atmosphere made everyone feel even more uneasy.
This is just a hoax.
Zihao said disdainfully.
Everyone chanted together.
Zhengkai said seriously.
Spirit of the saucer. Spirit of the saucer. Please come out.
Spirit of the saucer. Spirit of the saucer.
Please come out.
Everyone chanted together. At that moment, the plate suddenly trembled slightly. Everyone looked at each other. A mix of fear and curiosity surged in their hearts.
Dish Spirit, do you have something to tell us?
Zhengkai asked tentatively. The plate slowly moved and pointed to the word, yes. The atmosphere in the lab instantly became tense. As the questions increased, the plate's movements became faster, and the answers more and more eerie.
Did you die an unnatural death?
Yizhen asked, her voice trembling. The plate quickly moved to yes. Everyone's heartbeat seemed unusually loud.
Can you tell us your name?
Hewan asked cautiously. The plate pointed to several letters, spelling out a name, Yang. Then it continuously moved, forming the words Teacher Yang.
Teacher Young? Could it be our school's former biology teacher? I heard he died under strange circumstances.
Zihao said in surprise. At that moment, Zhengkai's body suddenly seemed to be controlled by something. His fingers left the plate, and he walked straight to the lab equipment cabinet. He picked up an alcohol lamp, his eyes vacant.
Zhengkai, what are you doing?
Mei-Yan exclaimed. Zhengkai did not respond. He placed the alcohol lamp on the table and lit the paper under the plate. The flames quickly spread. Everyone fled in terror, and thick smoke filled the lab, triggering the smoke detectors. The alarm sounded throughout the school, and they were quickly taken to the office. The principal and teachers anxiously asked what had happened, but the five of them remained silent in tacit agreement.
We didn't do anything. We just accidentally started a fire.
Zihao said briefly.
You'd better tell the truth or face the consequences.
The teachers warned sternly.
It was really just an accident.
Zhengkai added softly. In the end, the school decided to give each of them a minor demerit as punishment for sneaking into the lab at night and causing the fire. The five of them walked out of the office with lingering fear, their bond and shared terror deepening.
Did we forget to ask the spirit to leave just now? There shouldn't be any problems, right?
Yizhen said fearfully.
It's just a game, and it's just a legend. Nothing's really going to happen.
Zihao shrugged, saying nonchalantly. At this moment, they returned to the biology lab together to clean up the aftermath, only to find that the table where the five of them had been playing games was now covered in ashes.
Why did you suddenly pick up the alcohol lamp just now?
Zihao asked Zheng Kai, dissatisfied.
What? Was this fire caused by me? I only remember hearing a woman's voice saying, burn it, while we were playing. Then I came to my senses and the fire had started. I ran out with you guys.
Zheng Kai explained in confusion. However, none of them noticed that the dish with the red arrow had mysteriously disappeared from the lab. After the incident, the five of them began to feel a chilling sense of being followed. Whether day or night, they always felt a pair of eyes watching them from the shadows. Even stranger, these fears did not fade over time. Instead, they gradually spread, drawing them into the same dream. In the dream, they saw similar scenes and people, and felt the same fear, as if being drawn by an invisible force, unable to escape this eerie predicament. One evening during self-study, Yi Zhen's body seemed to be controlled by an invisible force, assuming a bizarre posture. Her eyes were vacant as if her soul had departed, and she muttered unknown incantations, her voice intermittent and eerie. The classroom lights flickered, casting unsettling shadows, and a chilling air permeated the room. Everyone felt an invisible pressure, as if they had stepped into another realm. Yi Zhen suddenly screamed.
She's coming! She's coming!
Her eyes rolled back, and she walked to the podium, picked up a pen, and stabbed her carotid artery fiercely. Blood spurted out instantly, and she fell to the ground, a plate falling out of her skirt pocket.
Why was there a planchette in her pocket?
Zihao asked, trembling.
Didn't we burn that paper? We didn't find the planchette when we returned to the lab.
Yuan recalled in horror. The remaining 4 students were terrified, their hair standing on end. At this moment, they realized the cost of this game. Yi Zhen's suicide shocked the entire school, but for the remaining 4, it was just the beginning of the horror. They started having frequent nightmares, accompanied by eerie laughter and terrifying images. In the past period, Zheng Kai, Heiwan, Zihao, and Mei Yan have been tormented day and night. They always see the scene of Yi Zhen's suicide, as if it never ended. These painful memories linger in their hearts, impossible to shake off. During one lunch break, the 4 secretly went to a corner of the campus, a place where they could avoid others' eyes. Yuan finally broke the silence, whispering,
Actually, I dreamed about the scene of Yi Zhen's suicide.
Her words were like a pebble thrown into a lake, creating ripples.
Is this the consequence of not inviting Teacher Yang back?
The others were startled and nodded, indicating that they had also dreamed of the same scene. Zihao said uneasily,
Could it be a prophetic dream? Who's next?
His voice was filled with fear. Zheng Kai looked at everyone seriously and said,
Let's play the Ouija board game again. This time we must properly invite Teacher Yang back. Otherwise, we'll all die.
They decided to summon the Ouija board spirit again during tonight's self-study time, determined to send Teacher Yang's soul back this time. To avoid alarming the entire school, they chose the back mountain of the school as the location. However, they did not know that this choice would lead them to an irreversible path. As night fell, the 4 quietly left the classroom, crossed the dark campus, and arrived at the back mountain. They prepared everything, carefully drew the Ouija board diagram, lit candles, took a deep breath, and began the ritual.
Spirit of the saucer, Spirit of the saucer, please come out.
Yuan whispered the incantation, gently placing her finger on the plate, the others following suit. At first, the plate lay still on the paper. Gradually, it began to tremble and slowly move. The 4 exchanged glances, filled with both surprise and fear.
Teacher Yang, is that you?
Zheng Kai asked, his voice trembling. The plate quickly moved to the no position. The 4 were taken aback. Then Zihao cautiously asked,
Yi Zhen, is that you?
His voice also began to tremble. The plate quickly moved to the yes position, and everyone's heartbeat accelerated. Then the plate began to spell out some words, revealing a terrible truth. They had not properly handled the Ouija board game last time, causing Teacher Yang's vengeful spirit to be unable to rest, which led to Yi Zhen's tragedy. Now, She wanted them to endure extreme punishment one by one. The four were dumbfounded, unable to believe what they were seeing. Zheng Kai tried to calm the situation.
Yijin, we didn't mean to. We'll make it right. Please don't.
However, the plate quickly moved again, spelling out cold and ruthless words. You cannot escape. The four's hearts pounded like thunder, and the atmosphere around them became more eerie and terrifying. The wind howled, tree shadows swayed, as if every corner around them harbored invisible malice.
What should we do?
Mei Yan's voice trembled, her eyes filled with tears. Zheng Kai took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down.
We must send Yijin's soul back, or we'll all die.
They refocused and began to ask Yi Zhen how to let her rest in peace. However, none of their questions received answers. Yi Zhen's soul refused to answer them, the plate coldly moving, spelling out more threats and intimidation. As time passed, the four's fear gradually turned into despair. As time passed, suddenly, He-Wan began to cough violently, her face pale, eyes filled with terror. Zihao and Zheng Kai tried to hold her, but her body suddenly became stiff, then collapsed like a powerless puppet.
He-Wan, He-Wan.
Mei Yan screamed, but He-Wan had already stopped breathing. There was a deep strangulation mark on her neck, as if she had been lifted by an invisible rope and then dropped heavily. Zheng Kai and Zihao were panic-stricken. They knew that this was not the end. After He-Wan's death, the remaining three could no longer stay calm. They tried to flee this cursed place, but it was too late. The night grew darker, and the moonlight coldly illuminated their terrified faces. At that moment, Mei Yan's body was suddenly pushed aside by a powerful force, and her clothes instantly caught fire. Zheng Kai and Zihao tried to extinguish the flames, but the fire spread quickly, burning Mei Yan's body. Her screams echoed in the night, then gradually faded, leaving only charred remains. Zheng Kai and Zihao were terrified, realizing that the horror of this game had exceeded their imagination. They desperately tried to escape, but it seemed as if they were surrounded by an invisible force, unable to get away. Zihao suddenly stopped running, his eyes vacant as he stared ahead, then slowly raised his hands as if controlled by some force. His neck was lifted by an invisible rope, and then dropped heavily to the ground, dying miserably like He-Wan. Zheng Kai looked at everything in despair, knowing that he could not escape either. His body suddenly stiffened, then was pushed to the ground by a tremendous force. The surrounding trees and bushes began to catch fire, and flames quickly enveloped him. After dawn, the school was silent, everyone shocked by the tragic deaths of the four students. Teachers and students began to speculate that it was due to the vengeful spirit of Teacher Yang. The truth gradually surfaced. Teacher Yang was once the school's biology teacher, strict and disliked by many students. Teacher Yang always demanded high standards for details in his teaching, not allowing any negligence. She was especially strict in lab classes, requiring students to operate carefully to ensure safety. However, her strictness made some students unhappy. During one lab class, a group of mischievous students decided to play a prank on Teacher Yang, tampering with the lab equipment. They secretly mixed some flammable substances into the experiment, inadvertently causing a fire. As the fire spread, the classroom descended into chaos. Teacher Yang tried to control the situation, with students panicking and running in all directions. The mischievous students had locked it to prank her, preventing her escape. The fire spread rapidly, trapping Teacher Yang in the inferno. Her agonized cries echoed through the building. Eventually, Teacher Yang was burned alive in the accident, leaving behind endless resentment. This Ouija board game became her opportunity for revenge. The Ouija board was not just a simple ghost game, but a medium for Teacher Yang's vengeful spirit. She used it to punish those who had offended her out of curiosity. This Ouija board game ultimately resulted in the deaths of 5 students, filling the campus with sorrow and fear. Under pressure, the school authorities finally decided to close the school. The once laughter-filled campus was now silent, with no one ever mentioning that terrifying past again. This story tells us that some forbidden games should not be touched lightly, or they will come with a heavy price.
Spirit of the saucer. Spirit of the saucer. Please come out.